everyone. Coming up here on the Pro Wrestling Show presents the AEW Ring Report. As you see right here, Thunder Rosa is now finally is the new AEW Women's Champion. Thunder Rosa overcome the odds. Thunder Rosa did her thing by defeating former champion Dr. Big Breaker after it was a highly anticipated match that Thunder Rosa had to go through in order to get this match. We'll talk about the latest on that. Also, too, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho has a new group, and he introduced the new group. Um, he calls them the Jericho Appreciation Society. I'll tell you later on what I think Jericho should rename his group, and he had a problem with the something. Speaking of stables and groups, William Regal, your lordship, he is forming a new group along with Daniel Bryan and John Moxley. I don't know if they want to call themselves a fight club or whatever Daniel Bryan and them doing. William Regal is captivating as a talent. And I mean, Sir William Regal is that he's a captivating cat. William Regal introduces Moxley and Bryant after he does his thing on the mic and on the commentary. We'll talk about that too. And what does Willa Utah? Well, he joined all of a sudden. We'll get to the latest on that, as well as the TNT Championship match, the entirely anticipated match as Warlow won the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Warlow earned his shot to beat the fight Scorpio Sky, the newly crowned TNT champion. Will Scorpio Sky be a transitional champion? Only time will tell on that. We'll get to later. And did MJF did something real dastardly to cost Warlow the championship? We'll talk about that. Plus, too, the returning Hardy Boys return. Who can go back into the Attitude Era and know the Hardy Boys made an impact? We'll talk about that later on too. And on Hot Topics, we look at this Killer Cross, who used to be known as Karrion Cross in WWE. He's going to make his debut in New Japan. Man, everybody's coming back into fruition as the Pro Wrestling Show starts right now. Hello, everyone. This is Kendra Dix. Well, you can't see we're doing the AEW Dynamite Ring Report. Now, we know last week Tony Khan brought him AEW, and now Tony Khan with all the listings. But we'll get to that. But first things first, join in the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling here on Connect TV. And thank you for joining us here on Connect TV on YouTube, our YouTube channel, our official YouTube channel, as well as our social media channels, as well as our Facebook account and our Twitch account. So join those places too. But we thank you all for watching. Now we see right here all these fantastic matches right here that you see, the segments and stuff. You see Warlow, Scorpio Sky for the TNT title. You see Dr. Big Breaker defend her women's championship against Thunder Rosa. You also see the Hardy Boys reuniting, and it feels so good. They reunited to take on the team of Private Party. Private Party had been influenced by the Hardy Boys, but we'll get to that. Also, to the Jericho Appreciation Society commencement. What's going on there? The formation of that group, as well as a huge six-man tag team match as three world champions. Heyman Adam Page, the world champion, team up with the world tag team champions, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, against Adam Cole and Red Dragon, who looking for gold and want to take it, as well as John Moxley and Daniel Bryan, team with their manager William Regal against Chuck Taylor and Will Utah. I mean, William Regal as a cunning manager, we'll give him that. But let's start off with the six-man tag team match. As you see right here, Adam Cole, Red Dragon won the match. Adam Cole and Red Dragon could put themselves in contention in a future tag team world championship match. They can do it again like they did in NXT and Ring of Honor. They'll do it once again. So look for no question for that. Cole got the win over Page. So look for a championship match down the road between those six men going forward. So Cole, Page, O'Reilly, and Fish won the World Tag Team Championship in more ways than one. Like I said, Adam Hangman Adam Page, he's okay as a world champion, but he's not, to me. Um, he's over, but he's not getting to his maximum potential. And so hopefully he loses it and gives it to Adam Cole, and he chases Adam Cole for the world championship. That's my prediction. Well, Chris Jericho with this new dude. I don't know. He's trying to be a soccer mom or a mom from the 1980s. I don't know. But Jericho came out there and his new hairdo, his new attitude. Like Pat LaBelle, you said, I got a new attitude. Jericho came out there and introduced his new group called the Jericho Appreciation Society. Now we know Chris Jericho highlighted everyone in the group, including Jake Hager, who's staying with Jericho, saying this is ride and die. He's not going nowhere, which I kind of knew going into it. Jericho even had 2.0, who he was feuding with, that he said that, hey, I'm not. He took him in. He couldn't say who really introduced him. They said Kevin Owens, but Jericho even put a new star tomorrow into Daniel Garcia, and they want to call themselves sports entertainers. Okay, that's how you get real heat going forward with that, sports entertainers. But Jericho said that he's the ultimate person people should appreciate, and he said he is, and he's gonna handcraft them and get them to the right point. So Chris Jericho is just like a gypsy. He moves on to the next person. I'm not surprised, no shock. Jericho has this group amongst him, and now he has his own footing with this group. So we'll see. They might just build him up. Jericho like to build up stars. So this is a way. He done it with the Inner Circle, with Santana Ortiz and Sammy moving on. And Jericho has his new Inner Circle, but I know I would want to call them Inner Circle 2.0. But Jericho said he likes the appreciation society, and he's saying he don't like the Inner Circle and another 2.0. So like I said, it's kind of weird, but Jericho making a point. So we'll see. I mean, Jericho, one thing about Jericho, and congratulations to Jericho. He has his own podcast that he does, Talkers Jericho, on the Sirius SI. So he did an insightful interview. I'm still listening to what he did with William Regal. So Chris Jericho with his own group. Now we transition to he did an interview with William Regal. We'll talk about it later on Hot Topics and what my thoughts was on that. Well, speaking of William Regal, he has a couple of men of his own that he is taking under his wing. Regal, we recall that Regal was the one that came out of nowhere at Revolution and sided with Daniel Bryan and John Moxley. Now we know last week Regal explained himself. I don't know if Regal want to be a heel. It's like he's going towards that way, but knowing Regal, I would have looked at Regal as a commissioner of AEW, but they don't want to go that direction. They want Regal to be a mouthpiece and a manager or a mentor or something like that, how they ever go. Well, we know Regal said he wishes he was Daniel Bryan, the perfect wrestler, and he wish he was sadistic and crazy like John Moxley. Well, we know Regal led his boys in a match against the team of Chuck Taylor and William Utah, Orange Cassidy and Danhausen at ringside. Well, Regal didn't hold back. Even Regal sat at the announce table, and he was greeted by JR and Tony Schiavone and how they did things for him. JR and WWE and Tony Schiavone and WCW, and then he called it Excalibur. So still, William Regal can make insults and make it look good with the insults, and you didn't even see it coming. He called Excalibur the man with the mask. I know Jim Cornette gonna have a field day on his podcast with this. call him a man with a mask on his face. Cause he likes JR, he likes Tony Brown a little bit, but he can't stand Excalibur. He calls Excalibur Escaman. But William Regal making fun of Excalibur and saying all this stuff, but at the end, Regal Will Utah lost, and Regal Utah tried to come back into the ring, and Regal slapped Utah in the face real hard. And now I guess William Regal could be bringing Will Utah in, and I guess that's what Daniel Bryan was talking about, like mentoring them and being the next up and coming star. So I could see that. That could be a possibility down the road if you ask me. But you never know how it's play out between Regal and all of them. And then too, this is still fresh and new. Regal, along with Moxley, along with Daniel Bryan, and then you could be possibly having Willie Utah in the group as a poople. Come on, the possibilities are endless. We'll see. Speaking of that, the Young Bucks came out there and St. Patrick's Day Green and FTR having problems. They fired their manager, Tully Blanchard. We don't even know what's going on with Tully Blanchard. He could be joining his daughter, and wow, you never know. But FTR having a dilemma. FTR, I don't know if they're going to get Bret the Hitman Hart. That's been rumored, but we don't know if Bret the Hitman Hart even interested in coming to AEW full time or for a couple of tea. If the Briscoes, we'll talk about them too later on the show. What's going on Hot Topics? But the book said that FTR are the second best tag team behind them. So we remember that historic match when they had for the world tag team titles, the Bucks won, but now the Bucks rubbing it into FTR's face on them getting rid of Tully Blanchard. But one time will tell on that one. We'll see. Plus too, Ricky Starks having a encounter with Shanesworth Swickman. I don't know what's going on with that, but like Team Taz definitely in a lot of people's toes with Keith Lee and the rest of them. I guess people getting lost in the shuffle, and I think all of them they get signed by AEW and get lost in the shuffle. And then AEW signed the big names. They get these folks that the Indies talking about, and then they only do nothing with them, and then they leave in a certain point in time. We'll talk about that with what's going on with Joey Janela. He's a perfect example of he's an indie talent, and he made it big on AEW, and now he got lost in the shuffle. He was on Dynamite for a couple of moments, and now he opted not to sign his contract. We'll get to that later. Plus two, the returning Hardy Boys. The Hardy Boys return. Yes, Matt and Jeff Hardy are back, reunited. They made their AEW Dynamite debut. I can't believe the song that they played, the Hardy Boys with that song. Like I said, they went against Private Party. No Private Party was more interested in the Hardy Boys and stuff, going so forward and stuff. So, like I said, it's that, but the Hardy Boys went against Private Party. The Hardy Boys taking it to Private Party after Private Party betrayed Matt after Jeff came and rescued Matt last week on Dynamite. And you see right here, Matt got rescued by Jeff when he got kicked out of the group, his own little faction. Matt, you saw right here. I was so happy the Hardy Boys back. The Hardy Boys came back with a vengeance. The Hardy Boys doing the thing with, and then also you see right here, Sting. The Hardy Boys won their match, but the Hardy Boys got cornered by Andrade's group. Andrade's group trying to counteract Matt Hardy's old group, old stable that he had. And you see right here, they're gonna get their match. We'll know. It's interesting to see that Darby Allin, Jeff Hardy. That's a dream match. We know Sting, Jeff Hardy had a match. That's a dream match. But the Hardy Boys emerged victorious over their win over this week. For them, congratulations for the Hardy Boys. Speaking of that, speaking of Darby Allin and Sting, Darby Allin will take on the Butcher this Friday at 12 o'clock. So look for the Pro Wrestling Show weekend edition with SmackDown and the Rampage Saturday, early Saturday morning for your taste if you're interested to see that. Also, too, we talk about this also on Rampage. Max Caster takes on Keith Lee. What a match that's going to be. This is going to be after the Final Four, as well as Bear Country and Filet Del Sol versus the House of Black. Now the House of Black will win this match, no question about it. He ain't got to put nothing to it. Speaking of that, the TNT Championship was online as the Big Mighty Warlow, the new face of the Revolution, took on the newly crowned TNT champion Scorpio Sky, along with his manager Dan Lambert, who was wearing a TNT Championship belt. At the beginning, Warlow was dominating the match. He was dominating all right until he had got attacked by MJF. MJF didn't forget. Sean Spears didn't forget, and they just laid Warlow out. Warlow said he wanted to end it peacefully, but MJF didn't want to leave it peacefully. And the MJF believes that Warlow was the one that cost him the match against CM Punk in the dog collar match. And Warlow was the one that didn't look out for his own best interest and heart while still working for MJF. And MJF looking to get revenge and retribution on the way. So we know there's a match coming between MJF, Warlow, but I think Warlow want to get his hands on Sean Spears. We'll see that going forward. Also, too, the main event was for the AEW Women's Championship, Women's World Title. Dr. Big Breaker defending her Women's Championship against Thunder Rosa. Who can forget a year ago in that lights out match when both women were so bloody that they couldn't even barely stand? Well, we know Thunder Rosa had got a celebrated entrance as the with Saram I don't want to say a Mexican heritage, but Thunder Rosa had a bloody match and a bloody feud against Dr. Big Breaker. But at the ending, the final moments of the match ended with this as Thunder Rosa pinned Dr. Britt Baker, who was trying to use thumbtacks, use everything in her arsenal to keep her championship, but she couldn't get the job done. Thunder Rosa had referee Aubrey Edwards come in where another referee was laid out and made the count. Thunder Rosa hit that her finisher and got the 1, 2, 3. And Thunder Rosa is now your new AEW Women's Champion. And what a historic reign for Thunder Rosa, the star of her reign, ending Big Baker's reign as a long-term Women's Champion. Thunder Rosa, congratulations. Thunder Rosa deserves this moment. Thunder Rosa won in her hometown. It's rare you win in your hometown. Ask WWE. But Thunder Rosa did it, and congratulations in order to Thunder Rosa winning the AEW Women's World Championship. Thunder Rosa now finally holds the goal that she always eluded her to do, winning the AEW Women's Championship in her own hometown of San Antonio. Congratulations in order to Thunder Rosa. All right, that ends the AEW Dynamite Ring Report. Let's move forward to hot topics. We talked about it. We know that Joey Janela says that he is, once his AEW contract is over, he is done with AEW. Well, Janela made it clear on Denise Salado YouTube channel that he's done. He's not going to make a. He's not going to come back to AEW after his contract ended. He's going to do his spring break events like he's been doing. We'll see on that. So we'll see how far George Janela will go with that. But the bad boy George Janela said that he's opting out of his AEW contract. Speaking of that, EC3 made the rules of how to control your narrative. These are the rules that EC3 made. So I mean, EC3 for some reason these are his rules. So how that go, we'll see. Speaking of that, what else? What else happened tonight? I guess that's it. We talk about the Usos. The Usos heading to WrestleMania with their tag team champion. They'll be entering WrestleMania as tag team champions for the fourth time. Look at WrestleMania 30, nearly 10 years ago. WrestleMania 34, and just over and over. Well, we know that Killer Cross is coming to New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's going to wrestle Manuza Suzuki. So Killer Cross making his return. Killer Cross made an interesting point that he is not coming back to Impact Wrestling. I think he ought to reconsider and see how he is. I don't know if he got problems with Scott D'Amore or Don Callis no longer there, but you never know. Never say never in wrestling. You know how that be. Also, too, Chris Jericho had his podcast released on the Talk is Jericho podcast. Chris Jericho welcomed the one and only AEW's newest signee, William Regal. Regal is the manager of the new manager of Bryan Danielson and John Moxley. But Regal shed light on everything he was in. While his time in WWE, Regal talked about stuff like it's hell. He almost was he almost died. Regal said incident happened way back in 2018 when he was in his deathbed, but Regal managed to pull out and got like I said, I like William Regal as a personality and stuff. He should have been the commissioner of AEW. That's just me. But Regal doing the most, doing everything. He said his time in NXT, he knew his time was coming. He said because Triple H wasn't there as often because of what had happened with the heart attack and situation like that. William Regal did, did had a deep dive of what he expects in being AEW, what he wants to mentor and train. And it was a good get for Tony Khan to get. And I feel like that's WWE's loss. Like you had somebody that's really highly respected and you gonna let him go. They could have had William Regal be head of talent relations. You ask me. He could have been better than Johnny Ace, but he was doing his job. But sometimes with WWE, it's all a business move. Like I said, I like William Regal. When he was an NXT commissioner, he did his job. He did his job right. Hopefully AEW will give him a role as commissioner, but if he likes being a mouthpiece, a manager, an agent, or a talent scout, which he was in WWE, and if this fit him, good for him. William Regal is a captivating presence in the world of wrestling, and without William Regal, you never know what you're going to get. But, good for William Regal. So look for that on the Chris Jericho's podcast whenever you feel like watching Chris Jericho's podcast. Well, I'm going to come to an end after we're going to show you Thunder Rosa winning the AEW Women's Championship for the first time. Happy for Thunder Rosa. So, for me being Kendra Dick saying so long, we'll see you this week for the Pro Wrestling Show weekend here on Connect TV. See you later.